This video is from the topic B2, organisation, and this time looking at the structure of the lungs. So we can see here the structure of the lungs. We start off with the windpipe, which we call the trachea. That splits into two branches that go one into each lung called the bronchus. Okay, bronchus is a single branch, bronchi, both branches together, the plural. They branch out into many branches called the bronchioles, and then they end with these tiny air sacs called alveoli. Okay, alveoli being the plural, alveolus being the singular. One air sac is an alveolus. Okay, so trachea first of all, which is the windpipe, but trachea sounds much better. Bronchus or bronchi, if you're looking at the plural, bronchioles, many branchings out, and then alveoli at the bottom, at the end of those branches. Okay, and we've got this muscle underneath the lungs called the diaphragm, and the diaphragm goes down when the lungs inflate. It helps change the pressure to help those lungs inflate, and then when we breathe out, the diaphragm goes up, helps to deflate the lungs. Here are some pictures from Body Worlds of the structure of the lungs there. You can see in the top picture there all the fine bronchioles. And here are some pictures from a dissection I did a couple of years ago. And you can see in the top left picture, we can see the trachea there, and it's lined with cartilage, which is the same stuff that's in your ears and in your nose, which helps keep it rigid to keep the air flowing through the trachea so it doesn't fold up on itself. You can see in the top right picture some of the network of capillaries surrounding the alveoli, taking all of that oxygen from the alveoli into the blood and removing carbon dioxide and water back into the alveoli. More about that in a second. You can see a cross section of a bronchiole on the bottom left picture, and that again is strengthened with cartilage to keep it open. And then the bottom right picture is fat surrounding the lungs, okay? Kind of this thin but quite strong layer of fat surrounding the lungs. Okay, so we looked a second ago at the cartilage, and again here we can just see this image through the trachea, and we can see the cartilage, the rings of cartilage supporting it to stop it from collapsing. Some people say that the alveoli look like a bunch of grapes. Some say it looks like broccoli, but you get the idea. It's these fine little pockets of space that massively increase the surface area. If you take your lungs and you spread out all of the alveoli out flat, it will take up the size of a tennis court. So huge surface area, really good for the diffusion of substances across the alveoli. And we can see this big network of blood capillaries on this picture as well, ready to take the oxygen and to give back to the alveoli the carbon dioxide and the water, products of respiration. Here we have deoxygenated blood coming in at the top, and when it leaves, when the diffusion of oxygen goes across from the alveolus into the capillary, the red blood cells gained that oxygen and it's oxygenated, okay? And at the same time, carbon dioxide is removed from the blood. That's usually an animation, but unfortunately it's not working. So, first of all, we can see on this picture that clear diffusion of substances. So carbon dioxide is at high concentration in the blood capillary and therefore diffuses into the alveolus. The oxygen is at high concentration inside the alveolus and therefore diffuses into the blood. Okay, and the extension question at the top, why doesn't all the oxygen in the alveoli make it into the blood? Because when we breathe out, there's actually some oxygen in there. And it's because, one, it's happening very quickly, but two, diffusion is a movement of the gas from a high concentration to a low concentration. So if you imagine there's lots of oxygen in the alveolus, and then it's diffusing across into the blood, And then you get to the kind of equilibrium. There's no change in the concentration between the alveolus and the blood. So there's some oxygen in the blood, there's some oxygen in the alveolus, and the concentration is equalized, okay? So the only way we could move the extra oxygen across would be a process like active transport, which doesn't happen in the lungs, okay? So diffusion stops there, and then we exhale the remaining oxygen. Last one then, adaptations of the alveoli that we need to remember, and we covered this in B1. Large surface area, okay, lots of places for the oxygen to move from the alveoli into the blood, and for carbon dioxide and water to go back into the alveoli. Thin wall, they're only one cell thick, so it means that there's a very short distance to travel to move from one to the other. The capillaries that the oxygen's going into are also one cell thick, so it's very easy to transfer gases across. It's just makes that transfer very easy. Moisture needs to be present because the gases don't just float over as gases, they're dissolved in a liquid and then that moves across. And then lastly, that large network of blood capillaries, so there's lots and lots of places for the oxygen to go to. Hope you found that useful. Thank you.